Present.
Jerry Walden.
Present.
Aaron Dickens.
Here.
Mark Coger.
Here.
Lynn Purdue.
Present.
Rex Steckenthal.
Here. Do I hear any motion for approval or any additions to the minutes of the previous meeting?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the previous meeting.
Second.
Moved and seconded that we approve the minutes. Roll call vote.
Mike Guffey.
Aye.
Jeff Hancock.
Aye.
Jerry Walden.
Abstain.
Aaron Dickens.
Aye.
Mark Coger.
Aye.
Lynn Purdue.
Aye.
Rex Steckenthal.
Aye. Are there any additions to the agenda? If I hear none, we'll just consider it approved. We've got Crystal Stanage here with the Climate Action Team. Would you like to come forward? Is she here?
She's actually not here. I was
Nope.
asked
Okay,
to
you're-
speak on
okay,
her
go ahead.
behalf as she got scheduled at the library. But she just wanted to let you know that the Climate Action Team through the Environmental Club and adult volunteers is still moving forward and progressing. They've got their hands on a few items. One of the big ones that was in the resolution or ordinance that we passed, it's been a while now, about cutting emissions by 2035 and taking steps after having that greenhouse gas inventory. One of them is that we would have a climate action plan in place by 2025, which is way closer than what it sounds. Had a real fruitful conversation with the city of Muncie and the city of Richmond regarding their climate action plan. And that reminded me to kind of reiterate, my perspective on all of this is we're setting goals. Goals are set to work towards and achieve, but they are not a hard line. They are not mandates. There is no, hard repercussions to do that. It's just to get things moving forward. So as we, start putting this together with the committee and, we bring it to you, and I think some of them will probably reach out individually to council members. Just keep that in mind. And then also, they wanted me to plug the Climate Fest. It's the second annual one. A lot of sustainable vendors and student projects. I think there's going to be some live music and some food trucks maybe, but it's at the Arts Park on Saturday, May 13th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And we'll just leave it at that.
Okay. I believe we also have Mr. Cole and Mr. Frost here concerning the bicentennial of Newcastle.
Newcastle bicentennial. Here, I'm just going to pass out a few. Yeah. All right. Henry County celebrated the 200th anniversary last year, and you guys were nice enough to contribute to that. So we're back asking for more funding, this time for the Newcastle bicentennial. You can see on the list some of the things that we're either going to do ourselves or support that other people are doing. All county worship service, ice cream social, the passport again, like we did for the county, this time just for Newcastle. The family reunion, which Everett's heavily involved in. The golf tournament, Sam Alford Golf Tournament that we help with that contributes to Newcastle Athletics. All the proceeds go to it. TNT Marathon, Travis Thompson's heading that up. We're just going to help him promote that. And we're going to try for the knockout again. We haven't organized that yet. We're a little far off on it. But as you can see, we have several contributors so far as far as sponsors. Henry Community Health's given us a nice chunk of money to start out with. Duke Energy's sponsoring overall the passport. We're going to do some commemorative old postcards that Main Street, Newcastle Main Street, and the tourism destination Henry County is sponsored. And then all the ones off to the right there are individual passport sponsors. So we've been working for money. It's going to take money to support this and to promote it. We are a 501c3. We've been working 4 or 5 months, a nice committee. Everett's on the committee, Carrie Barrett, Kay Ford, Daryl Radford, Shonda Kane, Cindy Brooks, and myself are all involved in the last, like I said, last 4 or months. Rob and Heidi Simmons have been working hard on the passport, and Sam Alford's involved in the Fall County Worship Service. We think that will last involved in it again. So I guess we're here just asking for your support funding-wise. You, like I said, you supported us last year for the county. This year, we're not doing as many events, so we don't need as much money to support it overall, but I guess we're asking for $10,000 from you, if that would be a good number. Everyone's talked a little about the family reunion, that's the thing that really needs a chunk of money to help with.
Two things. The family reunion in Baker Park is any of your families or all of them, and we're inviting some special guests, people that are founding fathers. We have the one I don't want to leave anybody out, but the one interesting thing that interests me the most is the first president of Citizens State Bank was John R. Milliken, and then there was a Thomas B. Milliken, and there was a John R. Milliken, and there was a Thomas B. Milliken. And today, still alive, living here in town, is a John R. Thomas B. So we're looking for other families like that. And Peckinpah would probably be okay, but he's from the county and settled in the city, so we're...
Messick Road, we can't get, you don't count.
Okay. But anyway, it's gonna be a big deal. We have more things going on, but this is really a big deal. How many of you have one of these? 2, 3 people. 1992. Daryl Radford today is, we want to republish this book, and we want to add 20 pages. Okay? 250 of these in a soft cover. It'll be $7,000 to publish, to have it reproduced. So he's working on the articles now, and we really need your help on all the things that Scott mentioned, but this is to bring this up to date from 1992, add some other stories, add some other families.
He was to update like the list of mayors.
List of just a little bit of everything, and if it would be, I can't promise you, but did anybody know? Jeff has a history here in town, and where was Guy Hancock's filling station?
Corner of 14th.
I wasn't talking to you.
Main and Plum.
Main and Plum.
Main and
Was
Plum.
that the first one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And-
Standard, or what was it?
Standard, then they broke them up, and it was Amico
Yeah.
and all
Yeah.
that stuff.
I mean, a lot of you've been in town, but there's so many stories like that, and they're not all gonna be in the book, okay? But you can learn an awful lot from Newcastle if you buy the book. We'd really, if you're really kind to us, we're only gonna get 250. We'd really need 300 or maybe 350. So we don't want to sell ourselves short of what's happening and where it is. And Citizens State Bank is celebrating their 150th, their sesquicentennial. So there's a lot of celebration going on. So
we've already started with the book. I think we have some money from tourism that's gonna help us with the book itself. Yeah, obviously once it's published, once they sell, the Historic Society is doing the book, so we're gonna help them with it. But once that's published, then start to get money back on it. It's just a matter of, that's just one of the things that we run into cost.
So you've mentioned two things. What's your price? Are we buying a used car here? Give us a dollar.
Well, we're looking for $10,000.
But did that include the book?
Yes. Yeah. That would help on the book, and that would help a lot on the family reunion.
yeah, we're not selling any used cars, I don't think.
Well, we're going bigger. We're going to do some horse trading.
We're not gonna, whatever money you give us, we're not gonna waste your money, okay? We've
Where are
got,
these books going, and are they sold, or what are they
They're
doing?
sold.
Let people know where they're going to go. That 300 you love to get a hold of, where are they going to go?
well, they'll be at the Historical Society. We are going to sell them. We're also trying to decide, I forget what this book was, $40 or $45. This book was $35. We're trying not to charge that. The books are gonna cost about 28 bucks a piece. We're not sure how much we're gonna charge. It depends on how much you help us as to how much we're gonna charge for it. You know, 20 bucks, 25, we wanna have you, we gotta let you invest something in it, but, we don't want to start at 28 bucks and we gotta make a profit to do something else with. We're at 30, 40, 50 bucks, so, no, we wanna hold the price down on it. So,
But things like the passport are already done from these sponsors you see on the list. And the Sam Alford Golf Tournament, at the end of the year, we go out and seek sponsors for it. So we gave like $14,000, I think, to the high school athletics last year through our work on sponsorships on that, whole sponsorship. So there's other ways we're seeking money that we just gave you a list of what we've done so far, money-wise. We appreciate all these people who've helped, and we're reaching out to you.
You get to the end of the day, and there's money left over.
There you go. Right now, as of the Henry County one last year, the money went to scholarships for the fund at the foundation for kids all throughout the county. We haven't decided if it's gonna be scholarships or another special program. That's not set up yet, but there was a chunk of money left over for it last year. This year, we haven't finalized it, but we think the Career Center is where it's gonna go at the high school. We'd like to give them some money at the end. So our intent is not to accumulate money and do something else with it. It's to tell everyone that the money at the end goes somewhere. I appreciate you bringing that.
Because, I mean,
Yeah.
knowing you and Everett, we're gonna probably come out way ahead, you know. But,
oh, thank you.
but, you know, I mean, you might come up a little short, or you might come up a little ahead, you need to
Yeah.
figure that out.
Yeah.
You know, I'm gonna, simply so we can see where everybody stands, I'm gonna make a motion that we take 10,000 for Riverboat Fund for the Bicentennial Celebration Committee.
I'll second that motion.
Now, we can have discussion if anybody, and then we, if there's any
Thought about
thoughts.
pre-selling the book. Might get some money up
Yeah.
front for that.
They
but-
even said that maybe the publisher could hold back as far as invoicing.
Yeah,
Any other discussion? Anybody else? Okay, we'll take the vote, Jim.
Mike Guffey.
Aye.
Jeff Hancock.
Aye.
Jerry Walden.
Aye.
Aaron Dickens.
Aye.
Mark Koger.
Aye.
Lynn Purdue.
Aye.
Rex Beckenbauer.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, are there any other citizens wishing to come before the council with speak or with questions or anything? Any citizens? This is the opportunity for
Come ahead.
you to come forward.
My name is Kim Rude. This is Diana Kahn and Alan Neal. We all live on Vine Street, Vine and 6, near the police department. And Margaret's also here. Yes, she lives there also. We are coming here because of the recycling center. I don't know how many of the council members have seen any of the pictures, but we've been taking pictures for months. We first contacted the city and Ms. Hyday in January. And since then, we have not gotten any responses. We have been picking up trash for months and months. Have the other city council members seen pictures? Can I pass these
I go
around?
there personally and I pick up trash.
Yes, you
and-
Yeah, if I can pass them around so everybody can see them. The first picture there is one that we just caught yesterday with the gentleman, two gentlemen. The blue and white pickup truck and the white truck is a common occurrence. The man emptied his whole truck bed into one of those dumpsters. We did pass the pictures to the police department so they can look on their video. But even with the wind yesterday, as you can see on the pictures, all the way up to 700, almost up to the 800 block, and on the side streets. It's all trash. And it's unacceptable.
This isn't just paper trash.
No.
The man was emptying things like,
Bicycles,
microwave oven, a wheelbarrow, they just dump, it's just like an open dump. And
they're
that-
there all night long.
24/7. And this isn't just a one-time incident, this has been ongoing since January.
And we've got all the pictures and all the notes since January. I've sent emails, I've contacted you, I've contacted the building commissioner's office, with no response.
Well, our response has been, I either go out and pick it up, Dave picks it up, the city trash guys pick it up, but
I have
it just,
sent
just,
five
it's just not enough.
I've sent 5 messages to Mrs. Hyde with pictures, and she's never responded. I sent the pictures along so she could see exactly what was going on. And I know there's rules posted, but you know, people do not follow rules. It's supposed to be recyclable material, and it is not. It's just, it's an open dump. It's appalling.
I spoke to someone at Three Rivers, and this has been about a month ago, they told me they were in the process of putting, enclose it with fencing to try to keep, when the wind blows, try to keep the trash enclosed. I haven't seen any progress there. The house there in the corner, 6 of Vine, that's a rental, and I got an 85-year-old mother-in-law lives there, and she can't get out and pick up trash and stuff like that, so. I'd appreciate if you tried to do something to keep the trash going all over the neighborhood.
Well, Aaron and I are on Three Rivers board, and at their last board meeting, they approved to put a solid, I mean, the police department doesn't want a fence that somebody could shoot through, a solid 3-walled fence up there. And I guess, I know we've moved it at least 4 times. Would that be acceptable? If they put a 3-walled fence up there, would that be acceptable?
How
No.
how is that going to stop people from dumping?
Well, it's not gonna stop them from dumping, but it would hopefully keep it from blowing into the neighborhoods.
But that doesn't solve the problem. That to me is a Band-Aid. They're still gonna dump, it's still gonna be 24/7. The people are coming over there in the middle of the night, at all hours, banging, throwing. And now we have added people that are coming and picking through the trash, taking out, I don't know what they're taking out, but they're taking out things they want to keep. And a fence, really, I appreciate the thought, but a fence isn't the solution. I just don't think that's something that should be in a residential area.
Did you have something to say, Chief?
And it needs to be managed and monitored.
No, I don't.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I was just gonna say, a fence is a start, and I agree, I don't know what area in Newcastle it's not residential, that's one problem. If I had my druthers, I would rather they had it gated and it was locked every night. But the only problem with that is, as soon as you do that, they just drop it off at the gate and lay it there. Comes back, I mean, Mr. Walden made this comment, I think, on Facebook, but it comes back to some personal responsibility. We just can't seem to get that where this is concerned. But at some point, we either have to, the problem has to get better, or we have to curtail it.
We have
It's
to
not
ban
have
it.
it, because there is no reason for this type of trash to be deposited in your house or somebody's house in Sunnyside or anywhere else in town.
Well, I noticed there were 3 dumpsters on the North 25th Street where those are enclosed and locked up at night. Why couldn't they be moved there with the other dumpsters?
That's at Doug's site at transportation, and that gate closes at what, 4:30, 4?
Right.
4:30, 4? And that's been the only semi-successful that we have. And have you found trash outside in the bags when you come up in the morning?
No.
Because they know it's watched.
And it's closed up in the evening, and people can't drop things off or drive through there.
Well, I don't want you to feel like that you're not being heard. We've just moved the water department down there, and we just moved the police department. They're getting ready to have their grand opening Saturday, and they don't want the trash down there either. We have tried everything we can possibly do. Some people buy into Mother Nature, and some people don't give a flip. All they care about is dumping their bicycles. We've had roofing, we've had toilets, we've had showers, and what we try. Every 2 years we talk about curbside recycling. That's so expensive, it's not effective either. So, we've done everything we can do to try to get people to help Mother Nature, but some people just don't buy in. Some people just.
It certainly isn't working the way it is there.
What about the parking lot, the old Sears parking lot over there? I don't see much.
I think this is bad, if not worse.
A lot of houses up there like that.
I understand, but if it's hid more like that parking lot is, the dumping would probably be 10 times worse than what it is here, or at least there's some residents. And I was there this morning with my crew, and we came and picked up 2 hoppers full of trash that had loaded over the weekend. It is bad. Personally, when it was right here behind the city building, it was bad. We moved it over there, it's just as bad, if not worse. And I'm not so sure the mayor's not right, it's just I probably tell the county, come and get their recycling bins and put them on, out at the county highway department that has a lock gate and let them deal with it because it's their issue.
Can I speak for you?
Sure.
I mean, you know me, most people here know me, and you know how well we take care of our properties. We try to, and, I'm anal about making sure it's mowed and trimmed and her yard and our yard, and Alan does the same thing across the street. And yes, our block right there, we're all well represented with the 4 houses right there. That's what we're here for. That block, we've been there 40 years, and we've maintained it. Even though the blight seems to be coming down the hill more and more, which is not uncommon for every neighborhood. But it's gotten to this point where I can't keep the stuff picked up. I was taking my truck and driving around and picking up the trash and taking over to the dumpster, and I was doing this every 2 days. I can't do that no more. I'm just tired.
Well,
And I know when Mike was there, poor Mike was out there in the pouring rain and picking up stuff, the wind was blowing, boxes were going everywhere. I had 4 boxes in my yard, and they were clear up the street, and it really just looked like some place had just been hit by a hurricane. I don't want to live like that. I don't take care of my property to look like that, and it's not my fault.
Well, I agree. I agree with Lee and all that. Can we talk to the commissioners? And since it's county operated.
No, it's not the commissioners, it'd be the Three Rivers.
Three Rivers
If,
stuff.
And I mentioned didn't mean to interrupt.
No, that's
But
right.
I mentioned that to Melissa Hyday today on the phone. I had a lengthy conversation with her this morning. And
Well, I think it's the city's responsibility to take it, to do away with your commitment, and they can put them someplace else.
Well, it's our responsibility to make sure trash is not gonna inundate you guys. That's our responsibility.
Not only
Uh,
that, if they were removed, it would look much nicer and be much more accessible for the ambulance and the police department for that area, rather than
Now,
all that congestion.
If a fence, how soon is the fence gonna be
Well,
going up?
I was gonna
2 weeks?
provide some context, because I
And
think
then-
some things have moved pretty quickly today. They've added a Saturday pickup, because I would assume it's worse on the weekends when it's not picked up than it is anytime. And Monday.
Saturday and
So
Sunday.
they were adding a Saturday
And-
pickup for right now, which they haven't been able to do. And then I think they talked about a fence going up this week. But again, if we're gonna move the site, that's gonna be a permanent structure. That's something that we voiced. So success in this issue to you, a solution looks like the bins, however it happens, whether the town city board, because this has happened in Knightstown, it's happened in Mount Summit, the town city board submits a written request to remove the bins altogether, or submits a written request to move the bins to a different location. That is a solution to you.
Aaron, is it possible, Lynn and I were talking, just throwing it off the wall, how about the old street department site? Is it possible that those bins could go there and be fenced?
It'd be fenced, just depends on, I mean, you're
that
gonna have
takes
traffic, you're gonna have traffic going on those grounds then. And
Well,
if-
but it takes away
But yes,
from
you're right. Neighbors,
residential
yep.
trash, you know, getting
Yeah.
trash all over residents.
Because, I mean, you're absolutely correct. Yeah, I mean, and again, like Mr. Peckpaw said, it's our responsibility to make sure it doesn't get outside of that. We've seen success at other sites. 37% of the county's recycling happens at that site. So I would be, I want to make a solution for you, but also if it's removed, I'm afraid where that tonnage is gonna go. Because I don't know if it's gonna go to a landfill or if it's gonna go in the county ditch. So that's something I think we have to keep in mind.
But I'd like,
too.
and
We can
you're-
talk about it, yeah.
You're kind of our Three Rivers, you and the mayor, I'd kind of like to see you guys get some kind of
Yep.
plan by the next meeting so that you can say, well, we've talked about it. And I kind
Well,
of
I
like
would
the
rather-
idea of moving it somewhere where it's not gonna be right there.
I just soon you vote on it tonight to move it. I'm good.
Do we have the right to
Well,
vote to
I-
move it? If we
And
do,
then our board will meet not
well
this
then,
coming
I'll make
Wednesday,
a
but it'll be-
motion that we recommend to Three Rivers that site be moved potentially to the old street department.
Well, I don't really have a comfort zone in the street department because we have
Well, where are you gonna move it? You gonna just move it all to Doug's place?
some of it. It's been very successful there.
Well, okay, I'll just.
Inside the
I'll-
street department, there's
I'll
some-
make the motion that it be moved to an area that's not in a residential part of town.
Move it to county property.
Yeah.
I'll second that motion.
So that's been moved and seconded.
I just want, and I understand, and
Recyclable, and how valuable is this recyclable? I'm just a grandma by myself, but since my grandkids were little, I'd save a plastic bottle, I try to do the right thing.
How much?
They say that once anything contaminates that, it goes to the landfill anyway. So what is the purpose of these?
Well, it really is interesting if you go
Yeah,
up
it'd be
to the
interesting,
recycling
yeah.
place and.
But they say,
And-
once it's contaminated, and you know they all are, time they get done with them this week, you
Cardboard,
know.
plastic.
Well, that's what I was getting ready to tell you. They throw that bag in the middle of a room with a bunch of other bags just like it. And literally, as hard as it is to hire
See it
people
on
today,
TV, go through it, but
somebody walks up to it and throws plastic over here, glass over here, paper over here,
But then there's
and
another
it,
one
and
comes
it goes
along
to
and
another
says-
conveyor. I don't know how, hard enough to find people do a good job. I don't know how in the world they find people to separate it, but
Then they
they,
say it's contaminated, and they strike it right on over to our dump system.
well,
and
then
our
they take it to
landfills anyway.
LaSatteville. What they don't recycle, it goes to LaSatteville, to a dump.
Well, we're gonna vote on this, and then I would recommend you go, when's the meeting? I think you
Yeah,
go
a
to the
week
meeting.
from this coming Wednesday.
Yeah, I would try to go to
5.
that
We
Three
don't want
Rivers.
target on our back, we just want.
No target.
Well, you're not
Next
targeted.
Wednesday.
We-
Not target, I'm
Hey,
Casey's mom,
wait
I
a
walk
minute.
my dog
I'm as
everywhere.
frustrated
I walk
as
my
you
dog.
are.
I think most of the people, you're gonna find out here in just a minute,
Well,
most of the
let
people
us-
on this council agree with you.
Cardboard, plastic, I like where that is
Yeah.
valuable.
Old
So any-
courthouse.
In the courtroom. There's
That's
an elevator,
Oh.
but.
Okay,
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's-
I've got it written down, I know where it is.
And, I mean, if you're hanging around, I'll get you my email address.
Time for vote.
Okay, so what is the proposal then?
To recommend to our board, the Solid Waste Management District Board, which is there by state statute under the county, to move those bins from Sixth Street to a non-residential site.
That's exactly right. Okay,
That would be well appreciated, Rex.
all right, thank you.
One more thing, if it continues or takes a long time, according to the city ordinance of how you're supposed to handle trash, I know with our toters, they're supposed to be closed, nothing on top, or you can be fined. Should they not also be fined for?
That was something I discussed with the office this morning. So, I mean, they could get a letter that says, hey, clean this up in 30 days, or we'll cite you. Nothing happens. They'll get another letter that
Yeah, I've
says,
got
we're
it.
giving you
We're
30
gonna-
days, or you're cited into court for 30 days from now, and then the judge might say, you have 60 to 90 days to get it cleaned up. That's
We're gonna
how we
try to
see
get
it.
this resolved in the next 2 weeks.
Russell knows where.
Gonna do our best.
Yeah.
Let's have a roll call vote, please.
Mike Duffy.
Aye.
Jeff Hancock.
Aye.
Jerry Walden.
Aye.
Aaron Dickens.
Aye.
Mark Hoger.
Aye.
Lynn Perdue.
Aye.
Rex Steckenbrock.
Aye. Okay, anybody else from the public wishing to speak? Please.
I just wanted to bring it to the council's attention.
I know who you are, but please state your
I'm so
name
sorry.
for
Mike
the
Mattingly,
record.
my apologies. Just wanted to bring it up that a resident of 2402 California Street, not a resident, but it's a house. I think you guys know that it's pretty well tore down and messed up. Some residents have come forward and said that kids are going in and playing, and some strong wind might even knock that building over. But some people in that area have requested that the city will look at it and possibly tear it down because of the safety hazard.
What's the address again?
2402.
Sits right on the corner of 24th and California Street. Used to be a church. It was sold to a guy in Indianapolis, out of Indy. He said he was going to tear it down, and the word that I got, he has passed on, sadly.
Mike,
And
is
it's
that,
fell in. It's fell in. It's fell out to the road.
that's not in the land bank? Has it ever been brought up?
It's in Hospital Heights.
Has it ever been brought up to the land bank? Okay. So do you know, is it in tax
Mr.
sale?
Melton, you'll look at that, won't you?
Sold outright.
Okay. Well, I mean, after
Okay,
it died.
anyone else, please? Okay, I don't see anyone else, so we'll move on to committee reports. Mr. Guffey.
I have nothing.
Mr. Hancock.
I have nothing, Your Honor.
Mr. Walden.
Couple of things. Attended the Eastern Indiana Regional Planning Commission meeting last week. We do have a new group of people heading it up. County is being represented by Bobby Plummer on the actual board. A lot of things, staying busy with that. A lot of things still very active in it. I want to thank Aaron again for attending the first meeting of the year for me.
Pretty much.
Found out what it's like. It's a good group of people that's concerned about this whole region. And I think the way the funding for grants are going in this state, you're probably going to have to be a member of that from now on, of some regional group, in order to be able to apply for those grants. So just want you to know that it is an active group. We're not there as Democrats or Republicans. We're there to represent our communities, and it's a very fair representation. So that's worth our time and effort on that, Mr. Mayor. So
Okay.
Saturday, Osborne Park was full like it was back in the 80s. Okay, parking lot was full, grass parking lot was full. Had a number of Little League softball players there. The new diamonds were officially opened. The crowd was great, as I said, and I tell you what, to be in a community that has a volunteer base that we do to work with our kids, it's unbelievable. Sad part of it is a lot of the parents there are former students. That shows how old I'm getting now. But it's exciting to see those families involved and having something positive in our community to go to. Osborne Park's a nice place, and it's gotten nicer and under the leadership of Mike and our park board. Trees are being put up along Fitzgerald Trail. I couldn't have been more proud. That's because of Mike and Park Board, that's because of the mayor, it's because of this council, putting that time, effort, and money into that. We had volunteers planting trees along the trail this weekend. Take time and go out there and look at it. It's a nice place to go. It's very peaceful. We had some trees fall down, Mike, and I think you had them up in a week and a half's time. I didn't even have to call you. So I'm very proud of this council and administration and what we've done in that part of our city. It's really that nice. It was a good day, it really was. I planned on staying there about an hour, and I stayed there for about 2.5, going on 3. It's fun to watch young kids play. I asked the mayor, I said, he threw overhand instead of underhand, and I think he was afraid he was going to hurt himself or
It
something.
went over the backstop if I was one of them.
But I just wanted to compliment everyone in here for that. And we need to be proud as a city with our volunteer base and what people do with their spare time to invest into our younger generation. That's what makes Newcastle special. We are special, and we tend to forget that sometimes. I know we have issues. I'm just upset about that as they are. No, I pull up there and I pull away of my trash because there's nowhere to put it, and I don't understand why people just throw it out there. Don't let that give us a black eye. We're better than that. We're a lot better than that, and Saturday proved that. So just don't forget that. And that's all I have.
Okay, Mr. Dickett?
Appreciate that sentiment. I don't think, that's all I have. You're gonna go over this list, right? When it gets to you?
Yeah, if you want me to.
Yeah. I'll save questions for then. So look forward to that.
Mr. Coe?
Well, since we're on the list, the only thing I have is can you put this on the city's website? So people can access it. Sure. That's all I got.
Mr. Purdue?
Just real quick, Saturday, a few of our councilmen here met with some property owners and some Main Street members downtown to look at the upstairs apartment possibilities for some owners. And it was great to actually meet with some of the owners down there and talk with them and kind of get a feel for what they're wanting to do. In general, I think Kerry was here the last couple of meetings talking about monies for a feasibility study. I think it kind of came across that maybe the city wants to help, and we convey to the property owners that we totally support Main Street and we totally support reinvestment. I just think at this point the feasibility study is probably on the back burner. We're going to continue to look at other ways that we can support those property owners down there to increase more investment downtown. So more will be coming later.
And Kerry sent out an email today, and it made some of us maybe not saw it yet, but read that because that kind of builds with what Lynn said. The only thing I've got, I just can't hesitate to have an opportunity to poke a little fun at Mr. Walden, because we're in the same boat. Because I heard you say some of the parents of those kids were your students. Some of the grandparents of those kids were probably your
I wasn't going to bring that up.
probably our students. But anyway,
yeah, no, that's true.
But anyway, that's all I have, Your Honor. I'll pass it over. Oh no, I do have one other thing. Mr. Barker came up with a quote on that piece of sidewalk on 16th Street that comes into Washington Street that will take us up to where people can walk on the cutouts and things and get to the hospital if they wanted to. And he said if we were to allocate $10,000 for that, that would more than cover it, and there would probably be money put back in afterwards. So that's something I'll ask Mr. Harvey to write up for next meeting, because that was kind of one thing we talked about doing, and it will make it a little more passable for people. And that's it, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay. Chief, you have anything this evening?
Yes. Assistant Chief Warlow's got 2022 annual report for everybody. Just to go over and highlight
Your favorite time of year. Right.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I would try to be brief. One thing I will say before we get started is I will send this to you, Kendra, in the morning, if you can put it on the city website. So anybody who wants to access this will have the ability. So I'm going to try to go through this fairly quickly, and then you all have a copy you're welcome to look at. And obviously, if you have any questions, by all means, let myself or Chief Schofield know. But there's a couple of things that I would like to highlight. If you flip back to the calls for service, so in 2022, we ran just shy of 11,000 calls for service. The last time that we exceeded 11,000 calls was in 2019. Obviously, with COVID starting in 2020, it's a pretty significant drop in our call volume. But if you look at the graph, you can see that it's starting to pretty steadily come back. In addition to that, one of the things that Chief Schofield did last year was we stopped responding to civil complaints where no crime had been committed. Now, obviously, if it's a civil call and starts to turn into a fight or something like that, then that becomes a criminal matter and we will respond. But sometimes when we inject police officers into situations where it's not warranted, it does more harm than good. And I think that's important to note, because if we were still responding to those, this calls for service graph would be even higher, and we would probably be back up over 11,500 calls. If you go to the next page on the annual arrest report, see that we were just shy of 800 arrests this year. Again, I think an important thing to note on this is when COVID started in 2020, we stopped incarcerating a lot of our misdemeanor offenses at the request of the court and the sheriff. So a lot of things that 3 years ago would have resulted in arrest will now result in a summons. So it's still a misdemeanor offense that goes in front of the courts, but does not result in an actual incarceration at the Henry County Jail. If we were still doing that, that 2022 arrest number would also be up exponentially higher. If we look at our patrol drug arrests, those are sitting a little short of 100. That has nothing to do with our narcotics officers. That is strictly our uniformed patrol officers locating narcotics on individuals that they contact on traffic stops, calls for service, things of that nature. If we go to the next page, we started tracking our gun arrests, and that is strictly gun arrests for illegal firearms. So I always use the example, if we traffic somebody and arrest them for DUI and they have a firearm, that does not count in these numbers if they legally possess that firearm. So this is strictly people that were either arrested for being in possession of an illegal firearm or individuals who were not supposed to be in possession of a firearm because of past criminal history, as well as red flag seizures. So you can see that that is down to 14 this past year from 19 in 2021. If we look at the impaired driving arrest, you can see that we arrested 58 impaired or intoxicated drivers. That is slightly up from 2021, so we saw a significant drop during COVID. Kind of interesting, we actually saw an uptick probably in the people using alcohol. We just saw a significant decrease in the people that were driving because there was not nearly as much travel during COVID. But we are starting to see that number tick up slightly. One of the things I always try to remind everybody is we participate in Operation Pullover. We actually coordinate that for us in the Sheriff's Department. So we do pretty much in any given month, we have officers that will be out working nothing but Operation Pullover, where they're looking for impaired drivers. So that is a really good grant that we receive and that we participate in. If you go to the next page and look at traffic contacts, we have 2,000 traffic contacts, pretty much on the money. So that is something that Chief Schofield believes strongly in, is proactive policing. So we do not want to sit and wait until a crime has occurred or until a traffic accident has occurred. If we can be out and being active in our community and interacting with the citizens that we serve. Traffic contacts, while it may sound silly, is a great way to have a positive interaction. If you treat people politely and professionally, Typically, when people get pulled over, for the most part, they may say, "What was I doing?" Most of them know exactly what they were doing. So you can turn that into a really positive contact. But it is also proven through NHTSA, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, that the number one thing that we can do to combat traffic accidents, particularly fatality accidents, is traffic enforcement. So that's something that we will always strongly encourage our officers to be involved in. And with that, you got the traffic accidents right below it. So from 2021 to 2022, we had a 7.8% decrease in the total number of traffic accidents within the city. And if you jump back to 2016, that number was actually 653 traffic accidents that we investigated in comparison to 574 this year. So another significant decrease over that time period. 2022, we were able to purchase our third canine and get that assigned to the road division. So that put 3 canines on the department with 1 assigned to each shift. That is something that we want to continue in the future. We will potentially be losing a canine later on this year, so we will be working again to try to get back to that third canine and 1 assigned to every shift in the future. If you go to the next page and look at the canine incidents, you'll see that we had 116 canine incidents, so that can be anything from tracking to apprehension to narcotic sniffs. So definitely using the canines that we have and want to continue that. If you look at the investigations, and this is strictly cases that are referred to the detectives for additional investigation, we had 133 criminal investigations over the course of 2022. And while that's not a exceptionally high number, I think we have to also remember that that was with 3 criminal detectives for the vast majority of 2022 until we got a 4th assigned. So those individuals are carrying a pretty heavy workload, and we appreciate that. If you go to the next page and look at our property crimes, this is some of the things that I think shows that proactive policing does make a difference when we're active, visible, and building relationships within the community. So since 2017, burglary has decreased within the city limits by 67%. Shoplifting has decreased by 44.1%, and overall theft has decreased by 30.9%. So those are all really good numbers and things that we definitely want to try to continue that trend and continue to build on that. If you go to the next page, you'll see Henry County Area Drug Task Force. So if you look at this chart, you'll see, and I think I bring this up, a lot of people talk about an opiate epidemic, and nationwide there's absolutely an opiate epidemic. But if you look at this chart, this shows you in grams of seizures, year after year, the #1 drug that we combat in Henry County is crystal methamphetamine. And that has held true since probably 2015, 2016 timeframe. So this past year, our narcotics officers made over 200 narcotics purchases, conducted multiple search warrants on phones, vehicles, residences involved in dealing drugs and narcotics, seized over $6,000 in U.S. currency, 5 firearms, and over 1,000 grams of crystal methamphetamine. If you go to the next chart, what I've done is converted meth into ounces as opposed to grams, so that you can see kind of what the other numbers look like. But obviously, if you look at the previous chart, basically all you can see is a giant bar showing methamphetamine and no other drug activity. So if you go to the next page, you can see some of the other heroin, cocaine, Schedule 1, 2, 3, and 4 narcotics by grams that were seized by our drug task force officers.
Schedule 1, Schedule 2 examples.
What are examples? So Schedule 1 basically means there's no accepted medical practice or medical precedent for it in the United States. So that can be your methamphetamine, your heroin. It can also be, there are so MDMA ecstasy, for example, does not have an acceptable medical practice in the United States. So Schedule 1s outside of what we consider like the hard drugs or the illicit drugs would be things like ecstasy. Schedule 2 is going to be typically your opiate-driven pain medications. Hydrocodone, oxycodone, Roxycontin, Oxycontin is all going to be in your Schedule 2 categories. Schedule 3 is going to be your Subutex, Suboxone. Schedule 4 is going to be your Xanax, Klonopin, things of that nature. Schedule 5 is going to be like your Tramadol or your very low-level pain management that does not have contain an opiate. If you go to the next page for school resource officers, so one of the big things that we were able to do was to put a school resource officer full-time within our school system this year. That was Officer Chase Coker. He is doing a great job. I don't just say that because Mark's here. He's actually doing a really, really good job with that program, and I think that job has turned out to be probably far more than what he anticipated it was going to be when he took it. So we definitely want to continue to try to build that program. Obviously, school safety is paramount, and it's something that we want to be proactive in. But also, when one of our primary goals is to build relationships, it is such a great opportunity and a privilege to have our officers in the schools getting to interact and build those relationships all the way down to grade school level. So that is something we want to continue working on. Funding and manpower, I would love to have 3 or 4 full-time SROs, but we were very thankful to at least get started with 1. So if you go to the next page on officer training, the state of Indiana mandates that every officer has 24 hours of training annually. Myself and Chief Schofield both think that is woefully lacking. So you can see kind of the breakdown of the different divisions. So our officers averaged 63.3 hours of continuing education training for the entire department. Detectives averaged 82.3, K-9 officer 126.6, and our SWAT officers averaged 135.1 hours of training throughout the year. So that obviously far surpasses the state mandates, and that's something that we absolutely want to continue and are proud that we are far surpassing the minimum requirements. If you go to the next page, you can see recruiting. I could talk for a very long time on recruiting, but that is something that it is a year-round process. It is not a one-time thing, and it's something that we're constantly looking for good qualified candidates, whether they are laterals, whether they're not laterals and wanting to pursue a career in law enforcement. So by all means, if you know somebody, they have questions, they have an interest in law enforcement, send them our way. We will gladly talk to them and try to set them on a path for success. So with that being said, if you go to the next page, you can kind of see some of our 2022 accomplishments. This past year, we hired 3 new officers. We moved the road division into the new police department right before the end of the year. We returned the drug task force for the city staffing to full staffing. We were able to get the approval to purchase 10 new vehicles to maintain the fleet, continue to see a decrease in those property crimes. One of the biggest things was that we purchased and implemented body-worn cameras for all of our uniform officers, to include myself and Chief Schofield. So that has turned out already to be such a tremendous investment. And it's something that we were very, very glad to have. It has proven to be a great tool. We also were able to return the investigations division to full strength by getting a 4th detective assigned to that division and trained. And then we tried to continue to strengthen police and community relations. In 2023, we're going to hopefully be hiring 5 officers to return the police department as a whole back to full strength. We are completing final construction requirements on the new department, and looking forward to Saturday to be able to show everybody where that has gotten to. Obviously, it's always a goal for us to try to purchase new vehicles as budget allows. We are sitting, in a pretty good spot as far as our vehicle fleet, but it's also something that we have to kind of continuously work at, especially when there's such a tremendous backlog right now in getting vehicles, even when they are ordered. Obviously, one big goal is to get all of our newly hired officers through the field training program, as well as through the Indiana Law Enforcement Academy. And then in 2023, we will likely be conducting another hiring process. So we will get that information out as soon as we have it, and then continue working to try to evaluate equipment needs and considerations that the department may need. So the last page, is just a photo of us with a shop with an officer. So something we've done, I think, for about the last 5 or 6 years at this point, want to continue doing, has been pretty successful. So if anybody has any questions, I will gladly attempt to answer them. Otherwise, I will let you continue on.
Really appreciate this annual report. Really like the charts where everything's gone down. So you guys are doing a great job. So this council's really appreciate you and your staff, everything you guys do.
Thanks, sir.
Remind everyone times of the open house.
I'm sorry.
Open house times for everyone.
It is Saturday from 11 to 1. It'll be this Saturday from 11 to 1.
Justin?
Yes, sir.
Do we have we purchased some a plate reader. How has that worked out for us?
Outstanding. So the system that we use for our report system is called Spillman. And that is where basically all of our incidents, arrest reports, traffic accidents, everything compiles into that system. The only way to get this information is I have to sit and physically data mine that system to pull this information out. So it is very difficult to cross-reference between, so we frequently don't put in our reports that it was necessarily off of a camera hit. So it makes it difficult to data mine that information. But it is proven phenomenal. So I was just telling Chief Schofield last week, with the cameras that you all approved us to purchase and put in position, that allowed us to begin reaching out to every agency in Indiana that's already on that system. So from an investigation standpoint, we all have the ability to share with one another if the agencies are willing to. And we are, while we only own 4 cameras, we are currently monitoring over 1,800 cameras across the state of Indiana. So that's been a very beneficial program. All right, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
I just want to say thanks to you and Chief Schofield for putting this together. And you guys, in my estimation, you guys have provided great leadership to our department. I really appreciate that. And I appreciate the mayor and the council's dedication to trying to keep our police force equipped and at the highest level possible as far as our parts. And I think you guys are doing your part, and it's working pretty good for us. Thanks.
Thanks, sir.
Anything from the fire department? EMS? Any deal? Mike? Dave?
Yes. The community crossing matching grant, I don't know how many of you are aware, but we did get that match from NDOT. Councilman, you should have the roads in front of you. We'll go ahead and put that on the website. Midwest Paving out of Noblesville, we've never used them before. They're actually doing the work down there behind the Y to put in those roads. But the owner is actually a Newcastle native, Doug Denny. I don't know if anybody knows Doug.
Oh, yeah.
He's the owner of Midwest. He's actually operates out of Noblesville. He was awarded the project. He hasn't given me a date yet. But you'll also see in your packets, there's a resolution that NDOT is requiring us to pass because we need, before we can move forward with NDOT, we actually need this passed and we need the approved minutes to submit to NDOT before we can go any further. So, any questions on the roads?
We'll just take a vote, then we'll go back to your guys' questions on the road.
Okay. You want to do that right now? Okay. We'll just go to resolution. We have one resolution on the agenda tonight, and that resolution is 05012023-1. Whereas the Indiana Department of Transportation has requested specific written authority for the execution of NDOT agreements when all members of the executive body do not sign. Now therefore be it resolved by the Common Council of the City of Newcastle, Indiana as follows. 1, authorization. The mayor of the City of Newcastle is hereby authorized and confirmed to have the authority to execute any NDOT agreements and all other documents related thereto, and all documents related to any NDOT grant programs for and on behalf of and to bind the City of Newcastle, Indiana. 2, ratification of Common Council of the City of Newcastle, Indiana hereby ratifies all prior agreements and associated documents executed by the mayor of the City of Newcastle, Indiana prior to the effective date of this resolution. And then 3, the effective date, this resolution is effective immediately upon its date of adoption. Resolved this the first day of May 2023. I move we pass this resolution.
I'll second it.
Okay, moved and seconded. Any discussion right now? Okay.
Dave spent a lot of time on this, Dave and Christie both, and I mean, what you see here is what we've turned in to get to that figure. But, for example, I consider Bundy a new road. And there's a couple places in Bundy Avenue that's just trashed already.
There's no drainage on the east side. I mean, that's
Yeah.
not our fault.
So,
There's just no drainage.
That's true, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
Water stands on it and causes it to do that. So if there is some place that is just a disaster that you know of, still turn that in to Dave. He trades and swaps out, you know, when there's area that they can fall a little short, and we can move it maybe to Bundy or something like that. So, I mean, Dave spends a lot of time on this, working with the engineers and working with the company on doing that. So if you don't see it on here, it doesn't mean that it's totally out. It's still, there could still be turned around a little bit.
North 20th. That's bad.
So, I mean, this is what we've turned into state to get approved.
When I meet with Doug, when he does come into town, I think we're meeting on the 11th. I'm gonna see about what he would charge to pave the police department parking lot and all that. Paving down. I don't know
Well,
you
if we
guys
get
see-
rid of those bins too, we might wanna see about
More of that lot?
more of that lot.
So I'll talk to him about seeing what it costs to do that, because Mr. Peck
Do
probably
the
talked about
ambulances use that back lot?
possibly maybe getting some more of that ARP money while we got it.
At least a
in town.
half.
It's gonna be a better rate while they're in town versus trying to get somebody to price
Oh,
it
sure.
not in town. And I'll talk to him about North 20th as well. I know it's in bad shape. You can only do so many roads. There's a lot more roads in town that need done than what we have on this list, but you can only do so many.
Yep.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay, Brenda, we'll take a vote, please.
Mike Duffy.
Aye.
Jeff Hancock.
Aye.
Jerry Walden.
Aye.
Aaron Deacon.
Aye.
Mark Hoger.
Aye.
Lynn Padula.
Aye.
Rex Beckman.
Aye. And then we'll approve the minutes next meeting. And we'll be set to go.
Three readings.
No,
You're talking about a resolution.
I think I saw them.
Okay. Your Honor,
Anything else, Dave?
No.
Joe?
I don't have anything else.
Brenda? Kendra? Doug? We might be talking about moving some more trash bins over to your area at a later date, or I should say
You don't say
recycle
later.
bins.
Yeah, don't know if you heard that.
Don't say don't say later.
Recycling bin. Greg?
Other than, for those of you that haven't heard, we were doing routine maintenance today, had a main break occur, had to shut the water down west on 38. We got water back on, everything except 2 businesses. My crew is still down there working. They will have those businesses back on before they leave. They've been out working all day since 8 o'clock in this weather, and they're not gonna quit till everything is as it should be. So
Appreciate
we
you.
got good people.
Yeah.
Well, and that's what, I mean, I know every time we hear about a main break, we, you know, thank Mr. Phipps and his workers, and that's all absolutely earned. But I think the best way we can thank him is come up with a plan other than replacing this clean water infrastructure chunk by chunk until it's, you know, a Frankenstein system. I don't know if that's in the works or what, but just was a thought every time that comes up. So. I know it's easier. I know it's easier said than done, but
Working on Vine Street, we're gonna have it all new here before
yeah,
long. So we're
yeah,
gonna
right. Another winter or two, it'll be all set, right?
And, you know, just as typical morning, first thing happens, we blew a hose on the backhoe. So we had to stop to fix that. And then we had to call a specialty company in to do part of the repair for us. And when they got here, they didn't bring everything they needed. So we had to wait for them to bring that from Winchester, or everything would be going by now. But here again, I get the best crew in the city, not why
Yeah.
everybody says different.
Yeah, well.
Did you have somebody retire in the office?
Cheney retired after 43 years.
Number one on the seniority list.
That's amazing.
Over 3 years.
Amazing.
Been here longer than anybody else.
We
Yep.
do appreciate it, Greg.
Lee?
The only thing I got is all the grading truck route is up. If they can't find Grady by now,
Thank you, Lee. Appreciate that. Appreciate it.
I think it's just as bad as when they leave. They don't follow the same route when they leave as they did when
there's
they
signs
came
up there
in.
now that says no trucks now, coming out of Grady.
Yeah.
I haven't received no phone calls.
Yeah. So, you know. The only thing I have is the two signs. We're still celebrating the kickoff of our 200th year. And at Baker Park, the 3rd through the 7th, there's going to be a fair there. I've always wondered why they call the Moreland Free Fair, because there's nothing free about these fairs. So that Moreland Free Fair, I've never had, so this is not a free fair. But it's a celebration, and hopefully that the weather turns a little bit for us so we can get out a little bit, but everybody support that and talk it up. And then the other thing is the police open house. Everybody come down in between this Saturday morning between 11 and 1. And I don't know how many years we've been working on that, 4 or 5
At least.
or so. When did Brad pass away? Has that been 17? So we're sticking on 5 years we're working on that. So stop in, check that out, and tell them, hey, and we appreciate that. That's all I have.
Well, if that's all you have, we've done the resolutions, we've got no ordinances, so we'll just entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Meeting adjourned.